Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Palmisano and I'm going to be talking about web-based decision support systems and their impact on customers and suppliers when compared to traditional decision support systems. To start off, I thought I'd go over what the differences between a traditional decision support system and a web-based one are. Some of the key differences I'll be talking about are the differences in the accessibility of each type of system, the differences in how they store the data that they use, the difference in how the costs are distributed for each system, and how each system is maintained. From there, I'm going to move on and talk about the actual effects that the differences in the system create, which are improved customer experience, improved outcomes for virtual teams especially, and the flexibility afforded to organizations using them. So let's start with the differences between traditional systems and web-based systems. Anytime I'm referring to a traditional system, it's any system that isn't a web-based design. So one of the major differences between a traditional system and a web-based system is the accessibility of that system. A traditional system tends to only be accessible within the walls of an organization, meaning just the one machine it's installed on, or potentially a small group of computers connected via a local internet. A web-based system is accessible on any device with a web browser. Because of this, there's a few trade-offs between the two. Traditional systems, while having fewer devices accessible to the system, don't need an internet connection, meaning that if for whatever reason the internet gets spotty or even goes down completely for a little bit, that system is still 100% usable, and a web-based system wouldn't be in that same scenario since it requires an internet connection to work. Traditional systems, however, tend to be less widely accessible in terms of number of people using it at once. Since there's a limited number of machines that can access the system, there's a limited number of people that can use those machines, there's a limited number of people that can use that system all at once. On a web-based system, you can have any number of machines accessing it because all it requires is a web browser, meaning that someone in the office or out of the office can access it all at the same time and greater utilize that system for the good of the company. The system is also more scalable if it's web-based because of that low threshold to use it being just the web browser. A traditional system would require a greater investment in terms of hardware, software, infrastructure, and things like that. Another major difference between a traditional style decision support system and a web-based decision support system is how the data that the system uses is stored. A traditional system really only has the option of local storage on servers or hard drives that are directly hardwired to the system. And a web-based system has that same option for local storage, or it has the option to use cloud storage. With the local storage, any organization that highly prioritizes control over the data in terms of its format, how it's stored, where it's stored, things of that nature, would like local storage. Anytime your data is right there in front of you in your building, you have a lot more control over it than if it's stored in some server farm of a cloud provider in a building that you don't have physical access to. The caveat that goes with that, though, is that you have to be able to have the physical space to have all of your data stored on a server or hard drive, and you have to be able to build up that infrastructure. A lot of organizations, especially smaller ones, don't have the space or the capital to do that, which is why cloud storage is a very popular option now. That cloud storage also helps the data be readily available in terms of usability through the system, since going back to the accessibility, it's more accessible on more devices since the system can be used on more devices. The picture on the right here shows a good example of both the data storage as with the cloud option, accessing it through the internet, and it also shows a good example of the accessibility with multiple users being able to access the same system at the same time through the internet. Another set of differences that the traditional and web-based decision support system models have is cost and maintenance, and these typically go hand in hand at least a little bit. With a traditional system, in order to use it, you're paying a one-time fee, and that fee grants you ownership of that software. Whereas for web-based, once you pay, it's not yours, it's a subscription model where you're paying recurring payments, and you're really only buying access to the system and the right to use it. The nice part about that model, though, is that you don't have to worry about the maintenance. You don't have to worry about the knowledge to maintain it, the cost to maintain it. All the bug fixes and upgrades are all the vendor's responsibility. As the vendor, though, it's nice because browsers typically incorporate all of the same standards when it comes to how they require things to be built. And so whether you're running Internet Explorer, Safari, Google Chrome, Firefox, any of those or others on a Windows computer or a Mac, it shouldn't matter, and your system should run on any of it because of how unified the development standards are for all of those things. With a traditional one, though, since it's not the vendor's responsibility to maintain, it's the organization who's the customer in this case. They have to have someone who, or multiple people, who understand the different development standards for the installable software that you're using on web. Maybe it's a Mac in one department and a PC in another department. And you need at least one person who can understand each of those. You can, however, sometimes purchase maintenance contracts along with your software, that the vendor of your software will come out and do the maintenance for you for a fee in a similar fashion to how the vendors for web-based ones do it. So that was an overview of some of the major differences between a web-based decision support system and a more traditional model decision support system. Now I'm going to talk about how some of those differences come into play and affect customers of organizations who use a web-based model versus a traditional model. One major effect that switching to a web-based decision support system over a traditional decision support system has is related to customer experiences. It has been shown through various studies that customer experiences are in fact improved when an organization opts for the web-based model over the traditional model. Things such as customer loyalty are increased while you have reduced price elasticities. Organizations are better able to insulate their customers from their competitors. They can lower costs of future transactions, reduce their failure costs, lower the costs of attracting a new customer, and all of these positive experiences that your customers are having get spread through word of mouth and reviews and increase your organization's reputation in the general public. All of these different factors have been directly linked to greater economic returns for an organization, which is the ultimate goal for any company, is to make as much money as they can. Many companies have also begun deploying external decision support systems that their customers use, because companies aren't the only ones that need to make a decision. Oftentimes, customers are making numerous decisions along the way while interacting with an organization. These different decision support systems are known as customer decision support systems, and they are designed to help customers with various things such as need recognition, information inserts about products or services that an organization has, evaluation of the experience of the products, of websites, of whatever it is that they're doing, purchase of a product or service, and post-product or post-purchase evaluation of their experience. These systems, a well-designed one, will leave both sides happy in that the organization will have made money and gained a customer or retained a customer, and the customer will be satisfied with their experience and hopefully satisfied with the product they received as well. The image here does a good job of showing a general basic model for how interactions with a customer decision support system work. Say, for example, I logged on to Amazon.com and I just went to their homepage. And on that homepage, I would find recommended items. So that right there is showing Amazon's decision support system is helping or trying to help me with need recognition. And I can get there directly by going to Amazon. And that's what that bolded arrow is showing, with the customer on the left linking to the DSS computer. Or I can get there indirectly through a search engine, like if I Googled some product and one of the links takes me to Amazon. You can see that this is a highly accessible model as well, again, since it's deployed over the internet, because up in the top left you see other customers interacting as well, and you can see there's even a computer showing that you can end up at the same thing for other competitors as well. Another aspect that gets affected when switching from a traditional model to a web-based model for decision support systems is the virtual team, which is a group of members all assigned to the same task or project, but all of these members are geographically distributed. So it's possible to have members all over the country, all over the world, working to accomplish the same task. And it's been shown that you can actually increase the quality of your decision making and have improved outcomes by using a web-based model. This can be tied back to how data is stored and the availability of the tools in both location-wise and time-wise. Having people all having access to those same tools, no matter where they are or when they need them, can help with everyone's understanding of the issues they have at hand, as opposed to just having one or two people on the team who have to do all of that at the one system that they have and relay that information. Doing it that way would be a lot less efficient, and a lot of people wouldn't have as good of an understanding of those issues, which can lead to less than ideal outcomes for these types of decisions. Whereas if you have that web-based model and everybody is working together to all use those same tools, they're all as informed as they can possibly be. These types of decisions having better outcomes means you might make a better decision on who to place in these teams, or even just with the teams making their decisions themselves, that they feel like they are making positive contributions, and overall the morale of the team itself is increased. And it's been shown that higher productivity is coming from this, and if you have higher productivity and high morale, you end up with a better product. Organizations that opt for a web-based model for their decision support systems tend to have a higher degree of flexibility with their systems than a more traditional model would allow for them. Going back to accessibility and data storage, again, these systems are flexible in terms of you can access them and use them whenever you need to, wherever you are. So you have flexibility in terms of usability. But also on the other end of it, you have things like you can change the scope level of your system just by making a few decisions about it, making some settings. You don't have to worry about adding to your system by building it up, spending money, spending time, finding space for new servers, things like that. It's all of that stuff is taken care of by your provider, and you either upgrade your service or just change your settings. And you can do that based on if your company's needs are changing, if you are a growing company who has more people, if your company decides to head in a different direction than they were, your same system will likely work, but you're just making a few adjustments to it as opposed to overhauling the whole thing. This flexibility allows your company to stay competitive in whatever industry you're in. One study has found that an organization within the top fifth of whatever field they are a part of has a 30% chance of being overtaken by a competitor who is not within that same top fifth, which that rate is 3 times higher than it was just a few decades ago. And this is being attributed to the rapid increase in availability of technology to smaller organizations because it's becoming cheaper and more usable and flexible through web-based models for various things. Decision support systems for organizations are definitely trending more towards web-based models than traditional models nowadays. And part of that is just because they are easier to use and they are more useful in general. They're more accessible. The data storage isn't really a concern for most organizations as long as the data is usable. Some organizations do want more control over the data that they have, and an organization like that may opt for a more traditional model, but it's really up to the organization there. The cost distribution between a traditional model and a web-based model is different, but neither one is clearly better than the other. One, you pay for your service every month or every year with a web-based model, and then you don't really have to worry about upkeep. Whereas with a traditional model, you're paying a one-off fee and it's yours, but then all of the upkeep is up to you. And then organizations who have switched from a traditional model to a web-based model have noticed that their customers have improved experiences, leading to greater economic returns due to a lot of different factors. And they've noticed as well that virtual teams are performing better and having higher morale, which is always good. You want your workers to be happy, and you want as good a product as you can put out. And these web-based models are much more flexible in terms of usability and setting them up and changing how they're set up for your needs and growth of different things. So that's all I really have for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the discussion board. I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.